They said there was a secret chord, a kind of thread, if you will, that bounds the souls of men to the earth and held the earth together. But you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this. When I was a younger man, I held 3 leaves. Just like once. It was actually 3 days ago, but I was younger. These leaves fell from the heights of the Kalashni tree. This tree towers above the Great Valley in sort of a semi-quaver kind of way. Each leaf had written upon it the complete works of Peter Kropotkin. It reminded me of my youth, when I was still infected with the ideas of my past. You still don't seem to get it. She didn't actually need a mop and a bucket. It was an allegory. It's like Al, but gory. And you'll be gory if you don't get me a can of Signature Select cola-flavored soft drink style beverage. Now with extra salt. Get 10% off your first case of Signature Select cola-flavored soft drink style beverage by using the coupon code Wren14 at checkout. Back in my college days, I would crush cans of that shit like small socialist revolutions. Boy, do I miss the view from a helicopter. But those days are behind us. In front of us, I see only one more decision. One of such harrowing magnitude that it blocks my view of all else. In the past, I was a coward. I shied away from violence. I couldn't see that it was inevitable. The only reward for non-violence was violence. If you do not strike preemptively, you will be destroyed. It is not enough to beat fools half to death. Their foolishness will never leave them. They must be eradicated. No trace of their foolishness can remain. They must be burned out like a plague. Or like cancer. Cancer cannot be reasoned with. Cancer cannot be persuaded. The only solution is to use a force so violent that even the innocent may be singed by its flames. That's the only way to ensure that no shred or scrap can remain, to grow, to multiply, to once again threaten to push us out of our homeland, to destroy us existentially. So lost I was, that I had thought I had never left the path. When maps indicated the truth, I tore them up and drew my own. I wandered further and further away from reason. And the further I went, the more certain I was. The more my resolve and conviction strengthened. If I hadn't done what I did, when I did it, I fear I would have gone too far to ever return. I swear to God, Gregory, you are on thin ice. One more fuck up like this, and I will beat you to a bloody pulp. Nothing but shreds of the memory of you will remain. I will eradicate you from the memory of those who will exist. You will no longer be of this plane. Sorry about that. Assistants can be a bit of a handful. They never seem to know what's in their best interest. You can try and explain things to them, to argue with them, to set them straight, but their minds are too hardened, too set in their ways. In the end, they will succumb to the flames, burned until nothing remains, and it will be their fault, for they were given the opportunity to live and chose not to. But you know what they say, you can't teach a assistant anything. And to waste your time trying to is to grant freedom to the action of your enemies. While you stand in the kitchen explaining for the 15th goddamn time this month how to make udon noodles. You can't defend yourself or keep tabs on those who have will to hurt you. There's only one solution, and it will be final. What did I think I was doing? I was afraid. And that fear was twisted into hate. That hate was weaponized, built to a boiling fervor, a breaking point. They knew what I would do. Not that they knew who I was. I was one of the many faceless people that had reached to whom they spread their message. But they knew before long someone would snap. Would no longer be able to contain the rage they had so carefully cultivated. In conditions like this, there is no path without bloodshed. It is only a question of magnitude and location. And once the blood has been spilt, they will throw their hands in the air. They claim that no one could have predicted this, that he was a lone wolf. He had no affiliations. But behind the manicured shock on their pallid faces lies the knowledge that while they may not have pulled the trigger, they loaded and cocked the gun. Every drop of blood spilled stains the hands of those who stood by and did nothing. Who saw what was being constructed before them, like the Tower of Babel, and did nothing to stop it. Some even laid a brick, yet disavow all involvement. They say they only showed him statistics. They just encouraged him to think critically. But every single one of them knew the truth. That a path was being built around him that diverged wildly from the trail of reason. They may not have detonated the bomb, but they armed it. And they too will be consumed in the end. I'm sick and tired of listening to people who've never left their echo chambers, trying to persuade me that the last viable path is unacceptable. But their solutions are lunacy. They seek to make everyone equal without acknowledging that everything is hierarchical. There is always someone stronger, someone better, and to trim those who rise above the rest like weeds is criminal. They seek to aid the weak, and in the process neglect the strong. They seek to steal from the prosperous to reward the incapable. But nothing is free. And when they run out of people willing to work and to create when their work is not appreciated, when they can no longer live for themselves, but must take on the burden of feeding others who put in no effort and contribute nothing, then they will fall apart and try to hold together their last remaining vestiges of power. They'll turn to authoritarianism, and the lazy and incapable that they had pampered for so long will feel a boot on their neck. Do you think they'll have the awareness to realize they did this to themselves? Of course not. They never do. And for the life of me, I could not tell you whether or not it's stupidity or stubbornness. In the end, it doesn't matter. The end result is the same. The same destruction besets us, the same suffering. Intentions don't matter, only outcomes. Words mean nothing. Actions are everything. These people prattle on about love for their fellow man, about peace and kindness. And every word that leaves their mouths is a fucking lie. They know what they're doing, riding on the backs of the downtrodden, convincing them of a utopia that cannot and will not exist, just to taste the shadow of a glimpse at power. And when they fall, those who carried them will hit the ground first. I feel no sympathy for them. They had their chance. There can be no peace or kindness, no love for our fellow man. As long as they remain, it is not out of cruelty that I say these people cannot be allowed to exist. It is out of a sense of obligation and of mercy to the world. They do not create. All they know how to do is destroy. But they have one thing right. The solution is destruction, and I will do what I must. There is only one problem left before us, one question that must be answered. And I have the final solution. I reread the story every morning. I can never let myself forget what I did. When the dust had settled, 134 million people had died. Most of them under direct orders from me. In the ashes, I was venerated as a saint, an angel who had passed over Europe, killing the firstborn of the faithless, burning out wickedness like the Noachian flood, leaving behind the chance at a new world for the few worthy to live in it. But I was paraded around the rubble. But as I was paraded around the rubble, what remained of the cities I had leveled, razed to the ground, corpses strewn throughout the streets, broken bodies torn and bleeding, I saw the fruits of my labor. A crack began to form. I have no memories of the procession. I'm told I was carried through the streets as a crowd of homogeneous people cheered my victory. I stared blankly ahead, unable to hear them. I slept fitfully that night. My dreams plagued with doubts and fears I had suppressed for a decade. I emerged from my room the next morning with the full, terrible knowledge of what I had done. I have devoted my life to atoning for what I did in that one day. And I still fear I have not begun to wash the blood from my hands. Despite all I have done since, I know my name is written in a ledger that cannot be erased. But I am not doing this for me, to try and redeem myself. I know I can never be redeemed. But if by devoting the rest of my life, I can counteract 1,000th of 1% of the suffering I caused, that would be enough for me. I think I could live with myself then. I was just doing what was right. I never meant to hurt people, but change necessitates violence. Can't you see? I was trying to fix things, to set right what had gone wrong, to fix the brokenness in our world, and to punish those who had let things get to this point. I thought I was doing the right thing. I never meant to cause harm. Oh God. Oh, Absalom. My son, Absalom. Would God I could die for thee. Oh, Absalom, my son.